The alien princess asked how many times humans can mate. She didn't expect the answer. The walls shimmered with a strange, almost liquid light that shifted in soft waves, reflecting on the polished floors. He had expected grand halls, statues, and alien opulence, but nothing in the holovids he had studied captured the subtle elegance of the place. There was a quiet dignity to the architecture, a sense of purpose behind every curve and line, and yet it felt welcoming, not oppressive. A soft voice broke his contemplation. "Welcome, human," it said, melodic and curious, with a tone that carried both amusement and intelligence. Elias turned to see Princess Lyria approaching. She moved with a grace that seemed almost effortless, her tall figure framed in robes that shimmered like liquid silver. Her large, violet eyes fixed on him, sparkling with curiosity. "I am Princess Lyria," she said, bowing slightly. "We are eager to understand more about humans. There is much we do not know." Elias straightened, feeling the weight of alien attention on him. He had trained for encounters with alien species before, but this was different. This was not a diplomatic negotiation. This was an audience with a species so different from his own that even the simplest things could seem strange. "It is an honor, Princess Lyria," he replied, his voice steady. "I will do my best to answer your questions." The princess's lips curved into a playful smile. "Let us start with something simple, yet personal." She tilted her head slightly, as if gauging his reaction. "Tell me, human, how many times can humans mate?" Elias froze for a heartbeat, caught off guard. The question was bold, unexpected, and yet she did not ask it with malice or ridicule. Her tone was one of genuine curiosity, the kind that scientists or scholars might show when faced with a phenomenon they could not fully understand. He chose his words carefully. "Humans, we are capable of mating frequently, depending on the individual. It is not just a matter of physical capability, but emotional connection, social customs, and personal choice." Lyria's eyes widened slightly, and she leaned forward, intrigued. "Explain." Elias took a breath and spoke slowly. "Unlike many species, humans do not mate solely for reproduction. We form bonds, partnerships, and friendships. Mating can happen many times, sometimes daily, sometimes less often, depending on the circumstances and desires of the people involved. Physical endurance varies, of course, but humans have remarkable stamina when motivated, and we also have the ability to rest, recover, and try again. It is not just biology, it is also about willpower, emotion, and society." A hush fell over the room. The court of Zyrathians had gathered quietly behind the princess, their tall, elegant forms observing Elias with wide, curious eyes. He noticed that their reaction was not what he had feared. They were not laughing, judging, or looking uncomfortable. They were intrigued, even impressed. Princess Lyria's smile widened. "Fascinating," she said. "So humans can endure and choose?" Elias nodded. "Yes, we are resilient and we are adaptive. It is not always easy, but humans find ways to overcome challenges, physical or emotional. We are capable of sustaining relationships, efforts, and bonds over long periods. Our endurance is not just physical, it is also mental and emotional." The princess looked thoughtful, as if absorbing every word. She turned slightly, gesturing to the observers behind her. "See, even the elders of our court have never considered endurance in this manner. They assume that species function only by instinct, like the creatures we hunt or cultivate." Elias realized that this moment was more than a conversation, it was a lesson in human nature. By speaking honestly and openly, he was showing them not just facts but a glimpse of what made humans unique, their intelligence, their adaptability, and their resilience. One of the elder Zyrathians stepped forward, their voice smooth and low. "Your species is curious. Most species we encounter mate solely for reproduction, for survival. Humans speak of choice and connection. Is this common among all humans?" "Yes," Elias said. "It is common, though the ways we express it vary." Some humans prioritize family, some prioritize companionship, some prioritize adventure or curiosity. Each individual is different, but the capacity to care, to endure, and to connect is universal. The court was silent for a moment. Elias sensed that the aliens were not just listening. They were analyzing, trying to reconcile their understanding of biology, instinct, and social behavior with the new information he was providing. He had seen this before in classrooms, when students learned something that challenged their worldview. It was the same here. He was a living example of human uniqueness, and it was altering their perception. Princess Lyria stepped closer to him, her expression earnest. "Tell me, human, does this endurance serve only pleasure, or is there a deeper purpose?" Elias smiled faintly, understanding her curiosity. "It serves many purposes. Pleasure is one, yes, but bonding, trust, emotional connection, and cooperation are equally important. Humans are social creatures. We rely on each other, support each other, and build communities. Mating, relationships, and connection are all part of how we survive, thrive, and grow together. Endurance is not just physical, it is the endurance of the spirit, the will, and the heart." The princess's eyes sparkled with admiration. "So humans are persistent. You endure not just for survival, but for connection, for understanding, for love." Elias nodded. "Exactly. We endure because we care, because we strive, because we are curious. We push boundaries, not just of our bodies, but of our minds and hearts. That is what makes humans humans." The room was quiet again, filled with a sense of awe. The court had not expected such an answer, nor the depth of explanation. They had asked a simple question, expecting a simple answer, and had instead received a revelation. Princess Lyria extended her hand slightly, a gesture of friendship and respect. "You have taught me something today, human, not about the act itself, but about the spirit that drives your species. It is impressive." Elias felt a flush of relief and pride. He had come here as a representative, uncertain of how humans would be received, and now he had earned respect, not through power or weapons, but through honesty and insight. The princess's attendants brought forward refreshments, strange fruits that glowed softly, liquids that shimmered like liquid light, but Elias barely noticed. His attention was on the princess and her reaction. She had asked a question that many might have laughed at or dismissed as trivial. Yet here she was, absorbing every word, contemplating the meaning of human endurance. "You speak of perseverance," Lyria said thoughtfully. "I have seen other species give up when the task is hard or when the body tires. Humans, you continue. You push forward. That is remarkable." Elias smiled. "Yes, princess. We continue because we have to, because we want to, because it matters. That is how we survive. That is how we thrive. That is how we grow." The princess considered this, then laughed softly, a sound like wind chimes, melodic and light. "I did not expect such a thoughtful answer to a delicate question. You are far more than your species' reputation, Elia's heart. I see now why humans are admired, feared, and misunderstood in equal measure." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, princess. I hope to continue sharing what humans can offer, not just our biology, but our ideas, our resilience, and our perspective." The princess nodded, her gaze bright. "I would like that very much. Come, there is much to show you. Not all lessons are in conversation. Some must be experienced." As Elias followed her through the palace halls, he realized that this encounter was just the beginning. The question she had asked, the one about mating, was only an entry point. It was a doorway into a deeper understanding, a challenge to assumptions, and an opportunity to demonstrate what humans were truly capable of. The palace seemed to shift as they moved, lights flickering like stars reflected in water, doors opening onto gardens that defied gravity, and halls that twisted elegantly without confusing the senses. Elias was aware of the alien gazes upon him, curious and expectant, yet he felt no fear. He had learned long ago that courage was not the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Princess Lyria glanced back at him, her eyes twinkling. We Zyrathians are strong, elegant, and capable, but we are not human. Your species endures in ways we cannot imagine. I am eager to learn more. Elias smiled, sensing both challenge and opportunity. Then let us begin. I will show you what humans can endure, not just in one moment but across many. And so, the human envoy, with nothing but honesty, insight, and quiet determination, began to earn the respect of a civilization that had never truly understood him. The simple question about mating had opened the door to something far greater, the revelation of human spirit, endurance, and ingenuity. It was a beginning. Elia's heart followed Princess Lyria through the palace, his eyes wide with wonder at every detail. The hallways seemed alive, shifting subtly as if responding to their presence. Light flowed along the walls in gentle waves, changing color with each step, and the air carried a faint, sweet fragrance that made him feel both alert and calm. Despite the alien beauty around him, Elia's focus remained on Lyria, who walked with an air of effortless authority, yet with curiosity that was almost childlike in its intensity. We do not often host humans in our palace, Lyria said, her voice thoughtful. Most species find our customs challenging. They become tired, confused, or frustrated, yet you seem composed, calm, resilient. Tell me, human, how do you endure when things are difficult? Elias smiled faintly. He had been asked variations of this question by humans before, how to handle danger, stress, or uncertainty, but from an alien princess it carried a new weight. We endure because we have to, he said carefully. We face difficulties and we find solutions. We work together, learn from mistakes, and keep going. Sometimes it is physical endurance, sometimes mental. Often it is a combination of both, but humans are adaptable. That is our strength. Lyria's violet eyes sparkled with curiosity. Adaptable. You do not give up, even when others might. You can persevere in ways my people do not always understand. She paused, considering. Then I want to see this human adaptability, not in theory but in practice. Elias nodded, sensing that this was more than a simple test. I am ready, he said. I will do what I can. The princess led him to a large chamber that was unlike anything he had ever seen. The floor was smooth and reflective, stretching into a vast space that seemed to go on endlessly. Holographic images floated in the air, forming landscapes, obstacles, and challenges that shifted as they moved. The room was a combination of training ground, laboratory, and art, designed to test both mind and body. This is our endurance hall, Lyria explained. Here we observe, measure, and test. Many species fail within moments. Some cannot understand the tasks. Others grow frustrated or lose focus. Humans, I am curious if you will succeed where others do not. Elias took a deep breath and stepped forward. The first challenge appeared, a series of floating platforms suspended in midair, each moving independently. He had to cross without touching the floor, which seemed to pulse with a low energy. The air was light, almost weightless, but misstep could mean a hard landing, though he trusted the room would not truly harm him. He studied the platforms. Each moved in a predictable pattern, but the sequence was irregular. He could jump, balance, and time his movements. Drawing on his training in agility, patience, and observation, he began to cross, carefully placing his feet on each platform. His mind focused entirely on the task. He noticed the subtle rhythms, the slight variations, and adjusted instinctively. Step by step, he advanced. From above, Lyria watched closely, her expression one of quiet astonishment. He does not panic, she whispered. He studies, adapts, and continues. Incredible. Elias reached the end of the platform sequence, breathing steadily, and turned to face the next challenge. A series of puzzles appeared, floating in midair as translucent shapes. Each puzzle required logic, creativity, and rapid adaptation. Aliens could solve one or two, perhaps three, before frustration slowed them. Elias, however, approached each with curiosity. He tested possibilities, observed outcomes, and adjusted. Some he solved immediately, others required several attempts. He did not rush, nor did he give up. The court, observing through hidden viewports, murmured in amazement. No human had ever been tested in this manner before. Most humans were assumed fragile, prone to panic, or limited by physical endurance. Yet here was Elias, demonstrating patience, intelligence, and flexibility. After completing the puzzles, the final challenge appeared, a simulation of a harsh environment with shifting gravity, sudden obstacles, and bursts of wind-like energy. His task was to reach the center while maintaining stability and focus. Most species could not maintain composure under such pressure. Elias, however, drew on human instincts for balance, observation, and adaptation. He slowed when necessary, adjusted continuously, and moved forward with confidence. When he reached the center, the chamber shifted, releasing a gentle, glowing light that signaled success. Elias exhaled, feeling a surge of satisfaction. It was not pride alone that moved him, but a quiet sense of accomplishment, the human drive to overcome, endure, and succeed. Lyria approached him, her eyes shining. "You have done what no other species has," she said. "You have demonstrated not just strength, but adaptability, intelligence, and patience. You endure physically, yes, but also mentally and emotionally. You continue when others might stop." "That is extraordinary," Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, Princess. Humans have survived in many harsh conditions. We have learned to adapt, to cooperate, to think ahead. It is in our nature to endure." The princess smiled. "You are teaching us more than I expected. I thought endurance meant strength, stamina, or power, but you show me it is also intelligence, creativity, and persistence. Humans are remarkable." After a short pause, she gestured for him to follow. "There is more to see. Not all lessons are physical. Some require thought, strategy, and collaboration." Elias followed her to a large chamber filled with alien scholars. They had arranged a complex network of tasks that required teamwork, reasoning, and adaptability. Elias studied the setup quickly. The challenge required him to communicate effectively, anticipate obstacles, and solve problems under pressure. He began immediately, moving pieces into position, coordinating with the holographic assistants, and adjusting his approach based on feedback. The aliens watched closely, whispering among themselves. His ability to think clearly, adapt quickly, and remain calm under pressure was unfamiliar to them. One elder remarked quietly, "He continues where others would fail. He does not give up. He adjusts. He learns." "This is human." "Yes," Lyria replied softly, "it is human, and it is extraordinary." The challenge continued for hours, yet Elias did not falter. He rested briefly when necessary, assessed, and continued. His human endurance was not only physical but mental, a combination of patience, observation, creativity, and problem-solving. The aliens began to realize that their initial assumptions about humans were incomplete. They had considered humans fragile, unpredictable, and limited by physical constraints. Yet here was evidence to the contrary. Humans could persevere in ways the aliens could not fully understand. As the day drew to a close, the chamber dimmed its lights, signaling the end of the trials. Elias, though tired, felt invigorated. He had pushed his mind, body, and spirit, yet he was not defeated. In fact, he felt a quiet sense of pride, not for victory, but for demonstrating what humans were capable of. Lyria approached him again, her gaze thoughtful. "You have exceeded every expectation," she said. "Other species fail quickly or lose focus. Humans endure. You persist. You adapt. You solve. You do not stop. That is inspiring." Elias smiled, brushing a bead of sweat from his brow. "Thank you, Princess. Humans have learned to survive in many environments, to face challenges, and to cooperate. Endurance is not just physical, It is mental and emotional. It is the ability to continue when the path is difficult, when obstacles are many, and when others have given up. The princess nodded slowly. I see now that my curiosity about humans was only the beginning. You have shown us more than biology, more than instinct. You have shown us spirit, determination, intelligence. That is rare among species, Elia's heart, very rare. Elias felt a deep sense of connection. He had come to the palace as an envoy, unsure of how he would be received. Now, after hours of challenges, observations, and trials, he had earned the respect of a civilization that had once seen humans as primitive and fragile. He realized that true respect did not come from weapons, technology, or intimidation. It came from resilience, intelligence, and the willingness to endure. As they walked through the palace toward the gardens, Lyria's expression softened. I once asked you a simple question, she said. How many times humans can mate? I expected a simple answer, but you gave me far more. You showed me endurance, adaptability, and spirit. You have changed my understanding of your species entirely. Elias chuckled quietly. It seems a simple question can sometimes reveal more than intended. The princess smiled. Indeed, and there is much more to learn. I want to understand how humans think, how they survive, and how they endure. I want to see what other species cannot. Elias felt a sense of purpose swell within him. Then I will continue to share what humans can do, not just for myself, but for all who wish to understand. We endure, we adapt, and we persevere. That is our greatest strength. Lyria's eyes shone with admiration. You are teaching us lessons that no other species could. And in doing so, you are becoming more than an envoy, Elia's heart. You are a bridge between worlds, a symbol of human capability. Elias looked up at the shimmering sky beyond the palace windows, reflecting the alien sun in hues he had never seen. He understood that this journey was only beginning. The challenges would grow, the trials would continue, and the curiosity of Lyria and her people would push him further than ever. And yet he felt ready. Humans endured, humans adapted, humans overcame. That truth, more than anything, was the key to surviving, thriving, and inspiring others across the stars. As they entered the floating gardens, filled with plants that seemed to defy gravity and shimmered with alien light, Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. He had begun to show what humans were capable of, not through strength alone, but through determination, intelligence, and resilience. The palace, the princess, and the court had seen a glimpse of the human spirit. It was only the beginning. Elia's heart stood in the center of the grand council chamber, surrounded by the tallest, most intelligent beings he had ever encountered. The Zyrathian Council was unlike any governing body he had seen. Each member towered over him, their elongated forms elegant and intimidating, with skin that shimmered like polished gemstones. Their eyes glowed softly, reflecting both intelligence and authority. They observed him silently, waiting for him to speak, and Elias felt the weight of their attention pressing down on him. Princess Lyria stood beside him, her expression calm yet confident. "These are our elders," she said softly. "They are wise, powerful, and skeptical of all other species. Today they will judge your people humans. Your task is to demonstrate not just survival but value. Can humans contribute beyond strength and biology?" Elias nodded, his chest tightening with anticipation. This was the moment he had been preparing for, not just to survive tests of endurance, but to challenge assumptions and demonstrate the unique qualities of his species. "I understand," he said. "I will do my best." The council elder at the center, taller and broader than the others, stepped forward. His voice was deep, resonant, and carried authority. "Human," he said, "you stand before us representing a species we consider primitive, fragile, and impulsive. We have observed your species from afar. We know your bodies are limited, your technology young, and your instincts weak. Convince us that humans are more than what we believe." Elias took a deep breath. "You will see," he said. that humans are adaptable, resilient, and capable of extraordinary cooperation. Strength alone does not define us. Our endurance is physical, mental, and emotional. We work together, think creatively, and continue when others would stop. That is our greatest strength. The elder raised a hand, and the chamber transformed. The floor rippled like water, and holographic simulations appeared around Elias. Each simulation presented a complex scenario, from natural disasters to diplomatic crises. The council watched silently, their glowing eyes assessing every reaction, every decision. The first scenario appeared: a colony under threat from a volatile planet with erupting volcanoes and shifting terrain. Elias had to direct the colony's inhabitants, humanoid holograms, ensuring their safety while preserving resources. He analyzed the situation quickly, noting patterns in lava flow, the terrain, and population movement. Using logic and foresight, he directed the colonists, coordinating evacuation routes, building temporary shelters, and optimizing resources. Minutes passed, yet Elias remained focused. He spoke calmly, adjusting instructions as the scenario shifted. Holographic structures fell, fires spread, but he adapted continuously. When one evacuation route became blocked, he quickly created another. When a supply shortage arose, he found alternatives. He did not panic. He did not hesitate. He continued step by step, thought by thought, demonstrating the human ability to persevere in chaos. Princess Lyria watched, her eyes widening. He does not panic. He adapts, analyzes, and guides. Incredible, she whispered. The council murmured among themselves, impressed despite their initial skepticism. One elder leaned toward another. We assumed humans are fragile, impulsive, and easily overwhelmed. Yet this human demonstrates patience, strategy, and endurance. Remarkable. The next scenario appeared: a diplomatic crisis between two alien species. Tensions were high, and violence threatened to erupt. Elias had to negotiate, mediate, and find a solution that satisfied both parties. He studied the situation carefully, listening to the holographic representatives, observing their gestures, understanding their motives. He spoke calmly and clearly, proposing compromises and solutions that respected both sides. He emphasized cooperation, mutual benefit, and long-term planning. Slowly, the tension eased. The holographic representatives nodded, agreed, and the crisis was resolved peacefully. The council was silent for a moment, absorbing what they had witnessed. Humans had survived natural disaster simulations, yet now Elias had solved a social and political challenge with strategy and intelligence. They had underestimated him. They had assumed physical strength defined endurance and value. Yet here was proof that the human mind, when focused and persistent, could achieve what others thought impossible. The third scenario emerged: a complex puzzle of resource management. A colony with limited energy, food, and water had to survive for decades while facing unpredictable events. Elias analyzed patterns, projected needs, and implemented systems to maximize efficiency. He made decisions that balanced immediate survival with long-term sustainability. Hours passed, yet he did not waver. He rested briefly when necessary, analyzed, and continued. His focus never faltered. The council observed in awe. They had seen countless species fail this simulation, unable to plan for long-term consequences or adapt to changing circumstances. Elias, however, demonstrated human endurance in thought, planning, and foresight. Princess Lyria stepped closer. He thinks not just for himself or for now, but for the future. Humans endure through planning, cooperation, and strategy. It is not brute strength. They endure through intelligence. Finally, the council presented a combined scenario: disaster, diplomacy, and resource management all in one. It was the most complex simulation they had ever designed. Many of the council members whispered, doubting that a human could succeed. Elias assessed the situation carefully. He prioritized, organized, and acted decisively, coordinating multiple elements simultaneously. He anticipated outcomes, adapted to unexpected changes, and remained calm despite pressure. Hours passed. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but Elias continued. He remained patient, observing and acting in balance. When a sudden eruption threatened the colony, he diverted resources. When diplomatic tensions flared, he mediated. When resource shortages arose, he improvised solutions. Slowly, steadily, he brought order to chaos. At last, the simulation concluded. The colony survived, diplomacy succeeded, and resources were preserved. Elias exhaled, exhausted yet proud. He had demonstrated human endurance not only physically but mentally, emotionally, and socially. The chamber was silent for a moment. Then one elder spoke, voice filled with awe. "We assumed humans were weak, impulsive, and limited. Yet this individual has shown perseverance, intelligence, adaptability, and cooperation. Humans endure in ways we cannot fully comprehend." Lyria smiled, her eyes reflecting admiration. "I asked a question once: how many times humans can endure, can persist? I see now that the answer is limitless. They endure through challenge, through thought, through spirit." Elias felt a quiet pride. He had not come to dominate, intimidate, or conquer. He had come to show that humans had unique strengths: resilience, creativity, and the ability to endure beyond what others expected. The council rose, one by one, acknowledging his performance. The elders who had once doubted now showed respect. They did not simply admire physical prowess, they admired strategy, intelligence, adaptability, and the human spirit. One elder, the tallest among them, spoke with reverence. "Human, you have shown what no other species could. You endure not only physically but mentally and emotionally. You adapt where others fail. You think where others panic. You are exceptional." Princess Lyria stepped forward. "This is what I wanted you to see. Humans are not just flesh and bone. You endure, think, and act. That is why your species survives, thrives, and inspires. Elia's heart, you have changed our understanding of what humans are capable of." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you, Princess. Humans are capable because we must be. We face challenges and we find solutions. We work together. We adapt. We endure not for glory but because survival, understanding, and connection are worth every effort." The council members conferred quietly, murmuring amongst themselves. They were no longer skeptical. They were studying him, trying to understand how a species so fragile in appearance could display endurance and intelligence beyond expectation. Lyria's eyes gleamed. "You have demonstrated more than strength. You have shown foresight, cooperation, and spirit. You endure physically, yes, but also through intellect and heart. That is what makes humans remarkable." Elias smiled faintly. "Humans endure in many ways. It is not only in our ability to survive, but in our willingness to learn, adapt, and continue despite challenges. That is why we thrive, even when others doubt us." The chamber relaxed. The elders, who had once regarded humans as minor players in the galaxy, now viewed them with respect and a hint of awe. Elias had accomplished more than diplomacy. He had redefined human potential in the eyes of an entire civilization. Lyria placed a hand lightly on his arm. "You have exceeded every expectation. Your species has strength, yes, but far more than that. Endurance, intelligence, adaptability, cooperation, these qualities define humans, and you have proven them today." Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. He had come to represent his species and had succeeded, not with weapons, technology, or intimidation, but with resilience, intelligence, and determination. He realized that humans had a power that others often underestimated: the ability to endure, adapt, and inspire. As they left the council chamber, Lyria turned to him, her expression thoughtful. "I once asked you a simple question about human endurance. I see now that the answer is not a number but a demonstration, a living example. You have shown us the spirit of humanity." Elias nodded. It is not in one act alone, Princess. Humans endure in small actions, repeated every day and in great challenges when the stakes are high. That is how we thrive, how we survive, and how we inspire others. The princess smiled, her violet eyes glowing. You have taught us more than I could have imagined. The council has learned, the court has learned, and I have learned. Humans endure, they adapt, they persist, and they grow stronger with every challenge. That is the lesson of your people. Elias looked out at the city beyond the palace windows, its structures shimmering under alien suns, and understood that the journey was only beginning. The respect he had earned was not for himself alone, but for the human species as a whole. He had shown that humans were more than fragile creatures. They were capable of endurance, intelligence, and perseverance that few could imagine. And in that moment, he felt a quiet pride. Humans had not only survived, they had inspired. It was a beginning. The palace gardens shimmered under the light of two suns, casting long, delicate shadows over the floating plants and winding crystal pathways. Captain Elia's heart walked beside Princess Lyria, his steps careful on the transparent walkways, yet his mind was alert and focused. After the council challenges, he had gained the respect of the alien elders, but he knew that true understanding went beyond simulations and trials. To leave a lasting impression, he had to show humans not only as capable but as valuable allies and thinkers. Princess Lyria glanced at him, her violet eyes reflecting curiosity and admiration. Elias, the council has accepted that humans endure. They understand your intelligence and adaptability, but endurance alone does not define a species. You must now show them your creativity, your resourcefulness, and your ability to inspire others. Elias nodded. I understand. Humans thrive when we think together, plan together, and create solutions that others may not see at first. That is how we leave a lasting impact. Lyria led him to a massive hall filled with alien scholars and advisors. The space pulsed with holographic energy, displaying cities, planetary systems, and complex networks of interstellar trade and communication. The challenge was not physical this time. It was diplomatic, intellectual, and ethical. Humans had never been expected to solve problems on such a scale, yet Elias felt a surge of determination. The elder at the head of the hall, who had previously doubted him, stepped forward. Human, he said, voice deep and resonant, you have endured physically and mentally. You have proven intelligence and adaptability, yet our universe presents problems that require vision, creativity, and moral judgment. Show us how your species contributes to the greater good, even when faced with impossible choices. Elias studied the holograms. They depicted an interstellar crisis. Two planets dependent on a shared energy source were on the brink of war. A natural disaster threatened a third system. Trade routes were disrupted, resources were scarce, and political tensions were high. Every choice had consequences, and every action could either escalate conflict or foster cooperation. He began by analyzing the situation. Humans excelled at seeing patterns, predicting outcomes, and understanding the motivations of others. He projected the consequences of each possible action, noting how each decision would affect individuals, communities, and entire planets. Communication is key, Elias said aloud, though only the council and Lyria could hear. We must understand all sides, negotiate solutions that benefit everyone, and anticipate conflicts before they escalate. Cooperation is more powerful than dominance. He approached the simulation with careful strategy. First, he opened communication channels between the two warring planets, emphasizing shared goals and mutual benefits. He proposed resource-sharing agreements, disaster relief plans, and trade solutions that prioritized fairness and sustainability. When one planet resisted, he adapted his approach, presenting alternative incentives and demonstrating empathy and understanding. Hours passed, yet Elias remained focused, analyzing, negotiating, and adjusting his strategies. He did not allow frustration to slow him, nor did he let pressure cloud his judgment. The human ability to persevere under stress, to balance logic with compassion, and to adapt in real time became evident. Lyria watched, fascinated. "He does not just solve the problem," she whispered to an advisor. "He anticipates needs, considers consequences, and balances every factor. Humans are remarkable." As the simulation progressed, Elias incorporated the natural disaster threat into his plans. He coordinated rescue operations, established emergency shelters, and ensured equitable resource distribution. He managed logistics with precision, adjusting plans as conditions changed. The holographic citizens moved safely, conflicts de-escalated, and resources were preserved. The council elders observed in astonishment. Many had believed that humans were primitive and impulsive. Yet Elias demonstrated foresight, strategy, and moral judgment beyond their expectations. His endurance was evident not only in physical trials, but in the ability to sustain focus, empathy, and creativity over long, complex tasks. One elder, her skin glowing softly like molten crystal, leaned forward. "He does not merely endure, he leads, he adapts. He understands consequences and acts to benefit the collective. This is exceptional." Lyria nodded proudly. "Yes, that is the essence of human strength. You endure not only through personal resilience but through vision, intelligence, and care for others." Elias smiled faintly. "Humans have survived because we learn, adapt, and cooperate. Our strength is not in dominance but in understanding, solving, and building solutions together." The council then presented the final stage of the challenge, a scenario requiring innovation beyond known science and technology. A mysterious energy anomaly threatened multiple systems, destabilizing planets and communication networks. The solution required not only logic and strategy, but imagination, creativity, and the courage to try untested approaches. Elias studied the anomaly carefully. It behaved unpredictably, defying conventional physics. Many alien species would have panicked or relied solely on brute force solutions. Elias, however, approached it as humans often did, with curiosity, experimentation, and careful analysis. He hypothesized a series of interventions, tested simulations rapidly, and adjusted continuously. Some ideas failed, yet he persisted. Others succeeded partially, providing clues to improve the next attempt. Slowly, steadily, he developed a plan that stabilized the anomaly without harming nearby planets. The council members leaned closer, eyes wide with amazement. They had never witnessed such patience, ingenuity, and determination in any other species. Elias' success was not a single act of brilliance, but the result of endurance, adaptation, and the human spirit's refusal to give up. Princess Lyria's expression softened, her eyes glimmering with pride. This is why humans endure beyond measure. Not only do they survive, they create, inspire, and build solutions where others see only problems. That is the essence of your species, Elia's heart. The eldest council member stepped forward, voice filled with respect. "Human, you have shown qualities no other species has demonstrated. Endurance through intellect, creativity, and ethical judgment. You have earned our respect and admiration. Your species is more capable than we imagined." Elias bowed slightly. "Thank you. Humans endure because we face challenges, adapt to change, and strive to find solutions that benefit many. That is our strength, and that is why we survive and thrive." The council deliberated quietly, their discussions soft and deliberate. When they finally turned back to Elias, their expressions were solemn but approving. Lyria stepped forward, her voice carrying warmth and pride. "You have done more than survive trials, more than demonstrate endurance. You have shown what it means to be human, intelligent, adaptable, and capable of inspiring others. Your people have earned our lasting respect." Elias felt a sense of profound satisfaction. He had come to this world uncertain of how humans would be received. Now, he had not only proven his capabilities but had reshaped an entire civilization's understanding of his species. Humans were no longer seen as fragile or impulsive. They were seen as resilient, intelligent, and valuable partners in the universe. As they walked through the palace gardens under alien suns, the floating plants glowing softly around them, Lyria spoke again. Elias, I once asked a simple question about how many times humans can persist. The answer is not a number. It is demonstrated in action, in resilience, in creativity, and in spirit. You have shown us that humans endure in ways we could never have imagined. Elias looked out at the distant horizon, where alien cities sparkled like stars on the surface of strange planets. Endurance is not limited to strength or stamina, he said. It is in learning, adapting, cooperating, and persevering when the path is difficult. That is what allows humans to thrive, inspire, and survive, even when others doubt us. Lyria smiled, her expression softening. You have changed perceptions, Elia's heart. Humans will be studied, respected, and remembered for what you have shown. Your species is remarkable, not just for endurance, but for spirit, creativity, and heart. Elias felt a quiet pride, not in himself, but in humanity. He had been the messenger, the representative, but the achievements belonged to all humans. They had endured, adapted, and thrived in ways the galaxy had not anticipated. The palace seemed to shimmer with approval, as if the world itself recognized the significance of what had occurred. The alien court, the council, and the princess had witnessed the human spirit in action. They had seen that endurance was more than survival. It was creativity, intelligence, and cooperation sustained across time, trials, and challenges. Princess Lyria placed a hand lightly on his arm. Remember this, Elias. Your endurance, adaptability, and spirit have not only changed minds but will influence generations. Humans are capable of far more than we imagined, and you have shown that clearly. This is just the beginning. Elias nodded. I will remember, Princess. Humans endure in every action, every choice, every effort. And that is why we will continue to grow, to inspire, and to make a difference wherever we go. The palace gates opened to the twin suns of the alien world, and Elias stepped outside, feeling the warm light on his face. The journey had been long, the challenges immense, and the lessons invaluable. Yet he knew this was only the start. Humans had left a lasting impression. They had shown endurance, intelligence, and spirit. And in doing so, they had earned a place of respect among a civilization that had once doubted them. He turned to look back at the palace one last time. The floating gardens glowed, the council halls shimmered, and Princess Lyria's eyes met his with admiration and gratitude. Elia's heart knew that humans were more than just survivors. They were creators, thinkers, and enduring spirits capable of changing the galaxy in ways others could not even imagine. And with that, he stepped forward into the unknown, ready to continue showing the universe what humanity was truly capable of. The alien princess asked how many times humans can mate. She didn't expect the answer.